Hello everybody, welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various tailwinds for the African Wilds tournament here in Golf Clash the game. Before we take a closer look, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. For those of you that are looking for 18-hole tournament guides for Pro Expert and or Master, make sure to scan the QR code here on the screen or go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. We do offer tour guides for Tour 7 up to Tour 13 as well, together obviously with the 18-hole tournament guides and also 9-hole cup guides. Follow the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also a ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. On the drive here on hole number 1, we play with the rock. This, as we do have a good accuracy, we also have the power with the rock. And when we do have tailwind, there's no need to play with anything that has more power. If we do have a more straighter tailwind, then we can try to get this ball to green, which is obviously recommended. But when we do have like a crosswind tailwind like this, then it's a layup that we're going to do. 2.5 topspin, 3 right spin, adjust, max plus 15 P3. Center the ball, hit perfect. Bounces on the fairway nicely over towards the green. And we are setting ourselves nicely up here now with a long iron from distance. Here on the second shot, we are going to use our Grizzly. Here we're pushing up 3 rings and playing in the video 5% slider with a 10% elevation, P3 numbers. We should, however, been playing this one 15% elevation instead of 10, and that's the reason of our edge burner. The reason we're not resting at the min line is due to the fact that we do have a slight tailwind component here, and therefore we make that little push up. 3 backspin is going to be around 3 backspin, sometimes 2.5, sometimes 3.5. It all depends on if you do hit great left, perfect, or great right on your drive. Center the ball and hit perfect, and again adding a little bit more elevation for this shot when it is more or less a straight crosswind would have been good. Otherwise we're going to settle for an edge burner like you see in the video. For hole number 2 with tailwind. Here it all depends on how much tailwind you have, meaning what's the wind strength you have and also what angle. In this type of angle we can't really get over to the, what will it be, the 3rd fairway, so then we're going to have to lay up on the 2nd fairway, which kind of makes this hole being still really tricky to make an albatross on. But if we do have a more straighter tailwind, my recommendation would be to use a P5 ball, trying to have the first bounce on the 2nd fairway over to the 3rd, and that will leave you with a long iron towards the pin. And I think that's going to be the way of getting an albatross in a way. Adjust max plus 20 and try to use some curl to compensate as well. Sure, you can use a kingmaker if you do want to have that extra side spin also. Be careful not going too far into the rough. Second shot here, you can still get an albatross from distance, but we're going to have to do a bounce over the rough or do a second bounce rough bump. But what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to show you just a single bounce over the rough, trying to not have too much speed for the ball to hit the pin and out. But this is, I mean, this is an outside chance for an albatross and will most likely end up to be an eagle in the end. And sure, some albatrosses will be made, but it's going to be more considered lucky. Anything. Bounces on the fairway over the rough, and you can see here now we come in with a pretty decent speed and would have been lucky once again if it would have been hitting the pin and drop. On hole number 3, you can either play a rough bump or you can play a bounce up. If we do have a tailwind, the rough bump is not really the way to play in my opinion. Then the bounce up is better. And the reason for that is that if wanted to play with a club with a good accuracy and a good ball guideline, such as sniper, you're going to have to either have a maxed out sniper and play with a P3 ball to reach for the rough bump, or you're going to have to play with a P4 ball or even a P5 ball if you have a low level sniper. So that's going to be just messy, as using a driver will pull you into the club. So bouncing on the fairway, trying to aim at the hole max plus 10, and I'm using a katana here for its side spin. And obviously you can use a ball with more wind resistance, which will then be easier to drop. Rolls down, they'll missing just right, but in the end it's always going to be a safe birdie. This is a par 3, playing the bounce up, which is always going to be safe for any grades. It's not, there is no danger towards that, but obviously we want to leave hole 3 with a drop. For hole number 4, this is a very short par 4, whereof if we do have a more straighter tailwind, then we can go for the green in 1. But we don't have that now. We do have a minor tailwind together with a lot of crosswind. And I'm going to use 6 bars of topspin and as much left spin that I can get with that. Ball guideline to be centered down the fairway. Max with no elevation. You can see here that I'm using a P2 ball. And the P2 ball, I mean, can definitely be used, but you can use a P3 ball as well, which will make the short iron on the second shot to become much closer to the min line. Because here we want to be somewhere between min and mid distance to make the second shot as easy as possible. So second shot, I'm gonna play with my thorn, and I'm looking at where the min line is, and then I'm looking at the max line where it is, and then making a call of what club distance I'm going to use. Here, it's all about finding a spot that gives you no glitches. There are some glitchy spots here by bouncing on this fairway, and that's definitely something that you need to have in mind, because that could create a big inconsistency in the way of attacking the pin for an eagle. So here I'm using a lot of backspin to allow myself to bounce very close to the fringe. No elevation with my shot, and again, it's true club distance, so whatever club distance you judge it to be. Center the ball and hit perfect. Perfect ball here will have a very good chance for a drop. I mean, you can obviously miss it like I'm doing there now, but in the end, it's going to be a hell of a chance to end up with on hole 4 for an eagle. Hole number 5 is a very difficult par 3 regardless what wind direction we do have off tee. The rough bump is most definitely my favorite here. It gives us somewhat a ball guideline to follow, and we don't have to have our first bounce on the very bumpy fairway or green. 3 topspin and 3 right spin is what I'm looking for. Landing position, blue ring by the sand, red ring to be by the rough line. And we are going to make an adjustment that is min, no elevation, P3 numbers. And to correct myself, I'm playing with 2.5 bar of topspin, not 3. Bounces into the rough, rolls up towards the pin, and we're missing just left, but just with some minor correction of either pull angle or, you know, wind angle tweaks, is going to be a chance for a drop. Hole 5, very difficult, par 3. On the drive here on hole number 6, and here we can obviously get much more tailwind if we are lucky, because this is definitely a par 5 where we benefit from having tailwind, because direct crosswind or headwind in any way is giving us a real problem here getting a chance for an albatross. But now we do have a chance for an albatross all the way, and either you do play a bit more aggressive drive trying to blast it over the rough, then you will have to have a minimum P3 ball. If having this minor amount of tailwind, you can also lay up on the left and go and attack the pin from distance from there if you would so like. Bounce on the fairway, 5.8 top spin, 2 right spin, and we do want to have that little rollout that you can see there in the end, which will result into getting into grizzly range. On the second shot, we're playing with our grizzly from close to a max line. Here I do recommend to use more backspin than less. What I mean with that is that I'd rather start higher up using more backspin than start it further back and come in with less backspin, because the green slopes downhill more or less all the way. So if we do come in with too much speed, we're going to fall off the green and we're going to be on the frame. We're never going to be in the bunker, but I do believe having more backspin is going to give us better control. Now, I play max plus 25 from plus 7 here in the video. We should have played max plus 30. That's obviously obvious due to where we miss. So, 100% slider plus 30% elevation, P3 numbers from plus 7 with Grizzly 9 is my recommendation. Otherwise, you're gonna most likely have yourself a close miss like that. Hole number 7 is a really difficult par 3 to get any consistency on when it comes to getting drops. However though, the video you will see here, now I'm doing a bounce up towards the pin. I'm bouncing over the rough and the sand, and it's always going to be a safe birdie with grades and with a perfect ball. However, the hole-in-one, very difficult as you're dependent on having the correct speed, and when it's so elevated, it is hard to zoom in and to be accurate with the amount of rings to pull. I'm trying to play medium distance plus 40, and a perfect ball here will be somewhat around the hole. What needs to be said here is that there is a rough bump. You see that rough that is just above the bunker. That is a rough bump that you can play. Obviously, that's going to mean that you're going to take some risk, but playing with that rough and bouncing into that rough give you a very good chance for an hole-in-one every single time. And you might be a player that want to take that risk, whereof if you hit a bad grade, you will miss the rough, and then that will most likely be a par. Or you are a more conservative player playing this type of play where the hole-in-one chance is less, but it's always going to be a safe birdie no matter what grade or perfect you play. On hole number 8, it's going to be, what can I say, more or less every type of wind we have here with tailwind is going to be somewhat ascended. And what I do recommend is to use a power 5 ball. That's why I'm suggesting that in the info box on the right. But you can, in a more straighter wind, use a P3 or P4 ball, but it's always going to be a max OP needle, and that's going to be super shaky. By using a P5 ball, you could come around by using a slightly less shaky needle and have a much better success rate with that. You can see this needle, I mean, I can obviously hit perfect here or single grades and still be fine, but I don't want to rely on more luck than that I have to. You can see here now that even though I'm coming in with a good speed in terms of getting the ball to green, it's still a little bit too shaky, that needle, and happens then to hit a great left, and then you do have the rough and the sand in play. But what is important, and also the reason why I chose this video, is that even though you have a crappy drive, you're still so close to the green that shooting from rough and sand is still going to be better than having to lay out for a long iron from distance. So my recommendation, use a P5 ball if you have the possibility. Use the driver with the most power possible. And then the topspin is not going to have to be the most you have. It needs to be somewhere around 4.5 to 6 bars of topspin, because we need to control the speed, having the ball going to green directly. And this one should be an eagle, and it will most likely be that for most of your opponent, and hopefully yourself. On hole number 9, here it is crucial that we are reaching as, not maybe as far down the fairway possible, but at least far enough so we can use our sniper as a rough bump club. We're gonna do an NMT, so we're not touching the targets until it's time to adjust the rings. Adjust max plus 10, push up to max, and then max overpower with a little bit more than half a ball of right curl. I'm using all the topspin that I do have on my club with 2 right spin. You can see here that we bounce nicely down the fairway, and position ourselves a little bit more on the right side of the fairway compared to being more centered or on the left, because the more right we are, the closer to pin we will be, and that's going to be helpful on the second shot. Now we're gonna have to do some type of check here. Just doing based on true club distance will not really reward us with many drops. So what I do recommend to do is to do a fringe check or a pin check, or if you have a shorter drive, you can use your landing position. A little bit of right spin. I like to do right spin if I do have a wind coming right to left. No elevation on the second shot, and here, as I'm not doing a check, it's just true club distance together with no elevation. Center the ball, hit perfect, and you will give yourself a possibility for an albatross here with your Titan. Green turns around, but missing that one kind of a lot on the left hand side. But in the end, you see the trick. The rough bump is definitely the best opportunity to drop this shot from distance. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division for the African Wilds tournament here in Golf Clash the game. Here we do have a modifier, it's tailwinds only, and as you've seen here on the videos, you've only seen videos with tailwind, and that's going to be difficult, but at the same time not difficult. It's gonna be a fun modifier in my opinion, and I would love to hear what you think. Make sure to make a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you think about the upcoming modifier. Scan the QR code here on the screen or go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy for the ultimate tournament guides. We're doing an 18-hole tournament guide for Pro, Expert and Master Division as per usual. We do have 9-hole cup guides and also tour guides as well. We do have something for each and every one. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck in the Golf Clash game.